What are the shitty aspects of being a Hogwarts student that the books gloss over? Let's talk about how love potions, forced bypassing of consent by using an ingested substance to render a target helpless, aren't considered dark or dangerous. A girl giving a guy a love potion to get him to do the skiddly-do with her, Voldemort's mom, was seen as acceptable. Tom Riddle Sr. leaving his wife after she drugged him for months and he found out was the horrible thing. And don't get me started on an old point man being allowed to use the Imperious Curse on an entire school year's worth of students. I'm 100% with you on consent issues, but I do give Hogwarts staff a pass on Moody doing that curse considering all the other shit hitting the fan at the time. You're hosting the Triwizard Tournament, and now you have 2 champions from your school. The Death Eaters gathered at the Quidditch World Cup. Voldemort's return is imminent, and you know it. You're probably not paying close attention to what Mad-Eye Moody is doing in his classes, much less sort out who he really was. Dumbledore was objectively a bad head teacher. Like, not even inefficient, but just plain bad. He showed clear favoritism because of who someone's parents were. He basically wrote off 1/4 of his students because of the house they were in and created an environment where many children would die every year without changing a thing about how the school was run. Also, his teachers can get replaced by the most evil wizard ever quite regularly, and he doesn't seem to think it will happen again. This is a great point. Sometimes the most brilliant intellect is a shit manager. Well, he showed favoritism to Harry because he is kind of the reason his parents are dead. Well, last year we hired one of Voldemort's guys disguised as someone else. Barty Crouch Jr. disguised as Alastair Moody. The year before a werewolf, Lupin. The year before that was an imposter, Lockhart. The years before that, Quirrell had Voldemort on the back of his head. This year we still won't check the person we are hiring is definitely a good person with no bad secrets. Oh no, it turns out we've got to hire a right bitch that abuses the kids. We might have to be careful in future. The kids might not be able to save the day again. To be fair, Umbridge wasn't hired. Percy. The Ministry installed her at Hogwarts against Dumbledore's objections. You have a very good point. I thought of this, but couldn't think of a way to word it. The professor in the 6th book/film wasn't bad. Snape took over Defense Against the Dark Arts and was thought to have become bad, but turned out good, so didn't want to go by them. And say last year we had Umbridge. All the ways you could just easily die. Detention? Oh yeah, we send students in the Forbidden Forest for that. You know where all the dangerous creatures live. Oh yeah, and students don't go into that corridor. We won't tell you why, so are super curious, but at the end is a giant 3-headed dog that could easily kill you. Oh. Also, sometimes we have teachers that may be really great at their subject, but are also the worst teachers ever. Cough Snape. You forgot to mention the moving staircases that could crush you painfully. Or the fact there is a seeming normal weeping willow tree that, if you get too close with, will just smash the life out of you. Isn't there also mermaids and a giant squid in the lake? As a person who uses a cane to get around some days, Hogwarts is a fooing nightmare for someone with mobility issues. Can you imagine a student in a wheelchair trying to go places, but the only way to change floors is stairs? Sure, in universe you could probably have a house elf apparate you around, but what if you're too poor to have house elves, or too muggle-born? Not to mention that the sorts of people who are fine with killing muggle-borns are probably down with all sorts of eugenicist bullshit, and that's terrible. All the health hazards littered all around. Moving stairs, deadly creatures, the school sports that involves flying on a broom mid-air while being chased by high-speed metal balls, lack of entertainment. Electronics don't work, and I highly doubt the school library has a fiction section. You're basically left with chess, Quidditch, or fooing with other people as your options. Your only option for going out is Hogsmeade. Doors that occasionally demand code/riddles for you to pass. Gotta get annoying after a while. A house point system that basically works on the professor's whim. Imagine you spend the entire year getting points and your rival house wins, because on the last day, they, seemingly, randomly win hundreds of points for being really good at chess, or whatever. Owl shit in your morning porridge, because someone had to get his fooing firebolt sent to him. Also the fact that sports teams clearly don't have regulation equipment and teams with rich family members can just buy their way to victory. On second thought, this may be the most brutally honest lesson Hogwarts teaches. Also hope you like Quidditch. If you're more of a cricket kind of Brit, you're out of luck. It's like being in a Texas high school, except replace Quidditch with football. Not having any basic education classes, you need to write an essay. Too bad you never learned English. You need to budget your money. Too bad arithmancy is an option and you likely didn't take it. You want to learn basic skills like first aid or cooking using magic? Nah, but you'll be able to duel and protect yourself against dangerous creatures. Also no sex edition. Are we expected to believe they are not going to experiment? Are STDs not a thing in the magical community? They must have some form of contraception, otherwise families wouldn't have such vastly different numbers of children. Maybe contraception's really expensive, hence the Weasleys having all the children and the Malfoys having one. Or maybe the Weasleys just wanted a lot of children. Either way, they're able to control that. How were there no underage pregnancies at Hogwarts? There's always at least one, right? Wait, does JK believe sex ed causes underage sex? Hermione starts making a move on you. You reciprocate the feeling. A month into dating, it turns out that was your creepy stalker neighbor using a polyjuice potion. You've heard of the bat bogey curse? What about a snake pube curse? You can't prove that spell doesn't exist. How your studies are affected by the fact people keep coming to your school to kill one student. Imagine feeling like you finally built a rapport with a teacher, but then by the final term it turns out they're evil or a werewolf and either has to leave or are dead. Hope your parents know that magic interferes with technology. Better hope your condition is treatable with magic, so you don't enter the school wearing a hearing aid or a pacemaker. Polyjuice sex would probably be way more common than regular sex, tbh. Having a points system that is seemingly arbitrarily calculated and provided by all teachers, including the ability for teachers who are the heads of the houses to also give points to students willy-nilly. A teacher that is already biased towards Slytherin can get annoyed at a guy find a student for the smallest thing and find some rule that they broke to deduct literally as many points as they want, while providing as many as they want to a random Slytherin for what they perceptively believe is a good deed. Same for all of the other teachers, but we all know who the books painted as the types to do this sort of thing. These points vary in the amount, and, to my knowledge, there's no limit to how many can be taken or given. It's completely up to the person in charge, including prefects, to decide what is the worthy prize or punishment. Honestly, while the book showed this system being abused a few times, I'm surprised it was not more. The house cup doesn't really mean anything though, like you don't actually get anything for winning, it's just used to induce competitiveness. They always talk about how superior they are to muggles, yet muggles have telephones, and they are still using birds to communicate. I want a movie about the inevitable consequences of muggles learning of wizards en masse, and wanting regulation of these magic wielding crazy people whose wars have been secretly destroying chunks of muggle society. Wizards, being the arrogant snobs they are, refuse to answer to muggles. Turns out one's maca for ineffective weapons against a basic handgun, let alone stealth bombers, predator drones, cruise missiles, and armored personal carriers. So when tensions rise, and Thua between the magical and mundane breaks out, it's actually more of an even fight than anyone could have guessed. You ever see that prequel Star Trek, where teleportation is still new and buggy? People were scared shitless of it, and it was only rarely used in emergencies. The reason was sometimes there would be a mistake and half your body wouldn't teleport, ripping you in half. Well, Hogwarts has the same thing. It's just called "apparition" instead of teleporting, and splinching instead of "ripping your body apart." The school requires everyone to experiment with this. No food or drinks in the dorms. I love tea in the evening. Why is there no little kitchen in the dorms? The food. So heavy. Switch it around at times. Most teachers are utterly unqualified to teach. History along with pin seeds would be my favorite class. What is up with the pet cats? Where do they poop? Who feeds them? How did Crookshanks get outside? Are there 30 plus cats in each dorm just chilling being a menace? What are allergies? Some random kid is going to be so miserable. Assuming the smallest population, that is still 200 students, to teach for just a couple teachers. Their workload is unrealistic. With the amount of hidden passageways, if you get stuck in one you are shit out of luck. No electronics. Everything needs to be written with a hard to write with quill. No internet. No easy pictures. No music aside from a few wizarding bands. No exercise aside from Quidditch. Honestly, I think it would be 10/10ths awful. Would still attend. The clear favoritism going on, and how the other students would get depressed because they would work so hard, then goddamn Harry fooing Potter would get a bunch of points because Dumbledore had a crush. Like Sirius Slytherin won that first year, and then bam, Voldemort just happens to attack, and oh of course Harry is the one to defeat him, not any of the teachers with way more experience. The first year who has no knowledge of magic before coming here. Like goddamn. There are only 20 girls your age. Most people live well into their hundreds. Most families know their family histories and have family secrets. Almost everyone but the Wesleys only have one kid 4 or 5 generations down the line. Everyone will be a Ginger, Gryffindor, Moron. Unlike normal schools which prepare you for the world, you are being prepared to work for the Ministry of Magic in stupid make work keep em busy gig hellscape. Literally the only employer for almost everyone. Market economics and scarcity aren't a thing, and power buys money instead of the other way around. Wingardium Leviosa. If you're put in Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff, you won't be known for anything other than maybe dying a tragic death, and Gryffindor is repeatedly given points for breaking rules and doing nothing other than thinking that they are superior just because they are in almighty Gryffindor. If you're put in Slytherin, apparently you're automatically evil, but people keep on forgetting that Slytherin isn't evil, it's cunning, yet they are hated by all the rest of the school just because of the decisions of a stupid ancient poetry spouting mind reading hat. And in Gryffindor, you're basically taught to hate Slytherin, so if you have a cunning sibling who's in Slytherin, you'll be brainwashed against them. This is exactly why I go to Camp Half-Blood. Just because the headmaster was Gryffindor, it is not automatically the best. I repeat, it is not the best.